This just came in, Ellie said the next day, walking to the back of the trailer with a thick manila envelope. One of the kids brought it back from town. It's from Hammond. Grant noticed the blue and white logo as he tore open the envelope. Inside there was no cover letter, just a bound stack of paper. Pulling it out, he discovered it was blueprints. They were reduced, forming a thick book. The cover was marked Isla Nublar Resort Guest Facilities, Full Set Safari Lodge. "What the hell is this?" he said as he flipped open the book. A sheet of paper fell out.
Dear Alan and Ellie, as you can imagine, we don't have much in the way of formal promotional materials yet, but this should give you some idea of the Isla Nublar project. I think it's very exciting. Looking forward to discussing this with you. Hope to see you soon. Regards, John.
"I don't get it," Grant said, flipping through the sheets. "These are architectural plans." He turned to the top sheet. Visitor Center/Lodge, Isla Nublar Resort. Grant turned to the plans themselves. They were stamped Industrial Secrets, Do Not Copy, and Confidential Work Product, Not for Distribution. Each sheet was numbered, and at the top, "These plans represent the confidential creations of Engine Inc. You must have signed document 112-4A or you risk prosecution." "Looks pretty paranoid to me," he said. "Maybe there's a reason," Ellie said. The next page was a topographical map. It showed Isla Nublar as an inverted teardrop, bulging at the north, tapering at the south. The island was 8 miles long, and the map divided it into several large sections. The northern section was marked Visitor Area, and it contained structures marked Visitor Arrivals, Visitor Center/Administration, Power/Decentralization/Support, Hammond Res, and Safari Lodge. Grant could see the outline of a swimming pool, the rectangles of tennis courts, and the round squiggles that represent planting and shrubbery. "Looks like a resort, all right," Ellie said. There followed details for the Safari Lodge itself. In the elevation sketches, the lodge looked dramatic, a low, long building with a series of pyramid shapes on the roof. But there was little about the other buildings in the visitor area. And the rest of the island was even more mysterious. As far as Grant could tell, it was mostly open space, and a network of roads, tunnels, and outlying buildings, and a long, thin lake that appeared to be man-made with concrete dams and barriers. But for the most part, the island was divided into big curving areas with very little development at all. Each area was marked by codes. "Is there an explanation for these codes?" she said. Grant flipped the pages rapidly, but he couldn't find one. Maybe they took it out. "I'm telling you," Grant said, "paranoid." He looked at the big curving divisions separated from one another by the network of roads. There were only 6 divisions in the whole island, and each division was separated from the road by a concrete moat. Outside each moat was a fence with a little lightning sign alongside it. That mystified them until they were finally able to figure out that it meant the fences were electrified. "Well, that's odd," she said. "Electrified fences at a resort?" "Miles of them," Grant said. "Electrified fences and moats together. And usually with a road alongside them as well. It's just like a zoo," Ellie said. At that moment, they heard a muffled explosion, and Grant put the papers aside. "Fire!" There was a light vibration, and then yellow contour lines traced across the computer screen. This time, the resolution was perfect, and Alan Grant had a glimpse of the skeleton, beautifully defined. The long neck arched back. It was unquestionably an infant velociraptor, and it looked perfect. They had set the computer up on Hill 4, not far from the device they called Thumper. Grant sat down on the side of the hill and looked at his watch. He said to Ellie, "We're going to have to do this the old-fashioned way." One of the kids overheard. "Oh, Alan. Hey, look, I've got a plane to catch, and I want this fossil protected before I go. Velociraptor shouldn't even be in Montana, and I want that fossil protected before I go." Thumper was 20 feet away now, a big red contraption on wheels. It looked like a furniture mover's dolly parked incongruously on the Badlands. Thumper had 2 youthful attendants loading the next soft-lead pellet. Grant went to look at the computer screen. He saw the complete skeleton traced in bright yellow. It was indeed a young specimen. The outstanding characteristic of the velociraptor, the single-toed claw, which in a full-grown animal was a curved 6-inch-long weapon capable of ripping open its prey, was on this infant no larger than the thorn on a rose bush. It was hardly visible at all on the screen. "We're running out of time," Ellie said, bringing him back. Grant gave instructions for the trench. From the computer image, they knew the skeleton lay in a relatively confined area. Meanwhile, Ellie lashed down the tarp that covered the side of the hill. Grant helped her pound in the final stakes. "How did the baby die?" one of the kids asked. "I doubt we'll know," Grant replied. "Infant mortality in the wild is high. Could have been anything. Disease, separation from the group, anything, or even attack by an adult. We know these animals hunted in packs, but we don't know anything about their social behavior in a group." The students nodded. "Alan, we've got to go if we want to make it to Chateau by 5.